The sweetness of sugar cane is in the eating. As you listen to this story, imagine you're eating sugar cane.
But no one knew the burden. No one knew the burden. Then she cut it in half. Do you wanna know? Yes, I wanna know. Are you curious? I'm curious to get to know. Listen to the narrative. I really wanna know how the story, how it's going. To get to know, listen to the narrative. Listen to the narrative.
Gentlemen, it's very un-African for you not to visit a friend's house. So tonight, you shall have supper at my house, Maximo insisted. So by 5 o'clock, they made their way to Maximo's residence. Ma'am, here are two special people I met at the 2-day conference in Nairobi. Maximo started to introduce Richard and Malo. Right in front of them, Joanne's face turned white like she had seen a ghost, and she fainted. Richard went speechless. The rest were thrown into confusion for a few seconds. When Richard composed himself, he uttered, "Joanne, how can this be?" In a graph, Maximo asked, "You know my mother?" Kevin Temba, who was outside the door, just about to come in, gave out a loud shout and fainted. Someone came with a bucket of water and poured on him. He awakened as fast as lightning and ran to his car. No one ever heard from him again. "Yes, I do, son," said Richard softly. "She was my wife. I've been looking all over for her. This means you are my son, Maximo." "What?" screamed Malo and Maximo in total confusion. They looked at each other. Then Richard said, "Oh dear, let's attend to your mother first. First, she doesn't look well." Mother, Maximo tried calling Joanne. On getting no response, they decided to rush her to hospital. Richard and Malo carried her to the front porch as Maximo ran to get the car nearer the front door. They rushed Joanne to hospital, and the doctor found that her blood pressure had shot up. "Oh God, please don't let her die now," Richard interceded as they were ushered out of the room. "I cannot be a regicide, please. Regicide, please. She is the queen of my heart." Finally, the doctor allowed them in after 2 hours. Her pressure had come down. They entered the room and noticed that Joanne kept looking round the room in a daze. Finally, she recognized her son Maximo and called out his name. She wanted to know what had happened to her and who the people in the room were. Oh no, she couldn't have lost her memory at such a time, thought Richard. Maximo decided to introduce the people in the room. "Ma'am, it is Richard and Malo his son," he said. He still could not bring himself to say that Richard was his father. All along, Maximo had waited for the moment he would reunite with his father, but he had never imagined it would be in such a situation. The doctor came in and asked them to step out for a few minutes. Once outside the room, Richard decided to take the bull by the horns and tell Maximo the truth. Malo, who was still in shock at the turn of events, kept a blank stare. "Son, I'm terribly sorry that things had to turn out this way." He started speaking to Maximo, who was giving him a blank stare. He apologized for the situation and explained that had he known they were coming to see Joanne, he would have done things differently. As he was still speaking, the doctor came back to reveal that the tests showed that the patient had suffered temporary amnesia. Richard felt that it was better for Maximo to stay alone with the mother, just in case the memory came back sooner. He chose to stay with Marlo outside in the waiting lounge. All of a sudden, he looked old and worn out.
I hope you are enjoying the sugarcane. Continue.
Dad, I'm so sorry for what has happened, said Marlo while putting his hand on Richard's shoulder. I'm at a loss for words. However, I think it was high time you met your family. We know all things will turn out well eventually. After a while, Maximo came out and Richard and Marlo got in. Unfortunately, Joanne could not recognize Richard at all, so they bade her bye and left for the house. That night, they forced themselves to eat the food that had been prepared. Richard knew he had a difficult task ahead. It was agreed that there was no need for Richard and Marlo to go back to the hotel, hence, rooms were prepared for them. That night, father and sons had a very long discussion. Maximo started by expressing how disappointed he was in the father for leaving them. Richard took time to explain all that had gone on between him and Joanne, his wife. Maximo realized that the issues were deeper than he had thought. Richard finished by telling him that had he known God and his word properly, things would have been much different. He explained that he had gone through what he had gone through, including how he had met Marlo's mother. Marlo also spoke of how Richard changed from being an abusive father to one of the most loving men he knew. You talk of God again. That reminds me of Becha. Hope one day I shall get to know him as you do, Father, Maximo said. Richard's heart leapt for joy, but he knew it was not yet time to bring up the topic to a son who had blamed God all his life. Finally, Maximo cooled down and was able to describe how their lives had been disrupted by the dysfunctional relationship his parents had had. He expressed how he had missed his sister and how they met in a plane. Soon, all were cheered up and recalling the good memories. That night, they only had an hour's sleep. Early the next day, Richard and Marlo went over to the hotel to get a change of clothes and clear from the hotel rooms. They were to put up in Maximo's house till they left for Nairobi. At around 11 in the morning, they went to visit Joanne in hospital. Though her memory was still down, she was a bit more cheerful. The next few days were spent between visiting the hospital and catching up on life. Maximo's boss was very understanding and gave him a few days to take care of his mother. A week later, they visited the hospital and found Joanne missing from her bed. They went into panic. Relax, I'm here, said a voice from behind the tawny curtain. Joanne was laughing. Mom, you almost made us collapse, intercepted Maximo. He helped the mother back into her bed and gave her a glass of mango juice to drink. I think I've seen you before, began Joanne as she stared intensely at Richard. Richard found himself becoming tense and Maximo noticed and joked. From where, Mom? Who are you? She asked Maximo. Maximo was stunned. Mother, you do not remember me, your son? He said, pained. Oh, you're my son, she said, stretching her hands towards Maximo. Sorry, son. Now I was saying I can't remember much, but I know I've seen this face before, she said. She hesitated and then added, those sideburns. She shook her head. Richard blushed. You are blushing, and she laughed away the topic. Got busy with other stories. After an hour, they left her to rest. That evening, as the men were going to the hospital, Marlo, who was driving, stopped the car at a famous florist shop in Nyali. What are we doing here? Richard asked curiously. His sons told him that they needed nice flowers to take to the hospital to a special woman. He understood and laughed. When they reached the door to Joanne's room, Marlo placed the foil-spangled flowers into Richard's hands. He stood in shock. Then Maximo opened the door before he could say anything. Wow, what nice flowers! Who do I owe them? Joan asked. Her spirits were very high that morning. Well, a beautiful woman like you deserves such flowers, said Richard as he handed them over to her. He knew he had missed his wife, but this was not the time to spill the beans. The plan was hatched between the men. The two young men visited Joan for 2 consecutive days. On the 3rd day, she asked where Richard had disappeared to. They told her that it was a long story, but she was very curious to know. So Malo left Maximo in the room with the mother. For more, join me next time, and remember, Jesus loves you dearly.